time I heard her cry in her sleep, I thought it was a dream. I used to believe I knew everything about her. We've only been married for 3 weeks, but during courtship, we talked about everything: her favorite meals, her likes, her goals, what made her laugh, and the little things she enjoyed doing. She's everything a man could pray for: beautiful, soft spoken, intelligent. During the day, she's full of life. She dances in the kitchen while making breakfast, calls me my king. She will hold my hand and say, Solomon, I will choose you 1,000 times over, in this life and in the next. And I will smile and reply, Katura, I'll be with you now and forever. I believed her until the night started speaking louder than her words. It started slowly. I would wake up in the middle of the night and hear her crying softly. She was asleep, but tears were rolling down her face. Her body shook lightly, like someone trying to hold something in. One night, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I gently tapped her. Her eyes slowly opened. Before I could say a word, she asked, Why are you not sleeping? Her voice calm, as if nothing strange had just occurred. I was speechless. The same face that had been soaked in tears now looked soft, calm, and glowing. I didn't even know what to ask. It felt like the moment had simply vanished. But it hadn't, because every night it happened again and again. Sometimes I heard whispers like, Give me some time. I would turn towards her, but her face was peaceful. The room quiet again. I started to wonder what I was just imagining things. Was I overthinking? Or was something really wrong? One morning I finally asked her, Are you okay? She smiled and touched my cheek. Of course I am, darling. I looked at her closely and asked, Do you know that you cry in your sleep? She looked confused. Cry? Me? No, I don't cry in my sleep. Oh. Are you sure you weren't dreaming? I wanted to believe her, but something inside me whispered, You are not dreaming. So last night, I made up my mind. I wouldn't sleep. I needed answers. I couldn't keep living like this. I lay beside her, pretending to be in deep sleep, my eyes half open. She turned and looked at me, trying to check if I was sleeping. Then, at exactly 2:14 a.m., she shifted away from me, adjusted her pillow and turned to the wall. And then, the light in the room went off. If she cries in her sleep this night, then I need answers or this marriage can't continue, I whispered to myself, fear already weighing on my chest. I had left the light on, but it had gone off unexpectedly at midnight. I took a slow deep breath and stayed still. The room was silent. No light, no sound, but my eyes were wide open in darkness. It felt like the room was empty. Then I heard her shift gently on the bed. And then the silent cry again. She whispered, I'm tired. I'm sorry. No, leave him. I leaned in closer, trying to catch every word. Leave him? Who was she talking to? Who was she talking about? I sat up quickly and reached out to tap her. But I thought nothing. She wasn't there. The space between me was empty. Panic set in. I reached for my phone to use as light, but it was gone. Just before I could call her name, I felt something climbing up my leg. Mommy Mo, and one more, I shouted and jumped. I didn't even know how I reached the door. I ran out of the bedroom and shut the door behind me. Sweating, shaking, I leaned in, trying to hear what was going on. Then I heard a voice, soft, calm, coming from the living room. My king, she said, why did you rush out of the bedroom? Is anything wrong? You are sweating. I turned around slowly. There she was, sitting in the living room, calm, holding a cup of tea. I wiped the sweat off my forehead and stepped closer. This wasn't funny anymore. What are you doing here? I asked. We were both lying down. How did you get out? Why is there light here but darkness in the bedroom? She smiled. Honey. I felt cold and came out to make some tea. Do you care for some? Katura, I called her name firmly. What is going on in this house? She stood up and touched my arm. Relax, she said. Maybe you need a checkup. You've been overstressing your brain. Enough, I shouted. I need answers. Who are you really? Then a sound came from the bedroom. It was soft, just like her voice, and it was calling my name. I turned to look towards the door, then back at her. But her expression had changed. That sweet smile was gone. I reached for the torchlight nearby. I'm going to check that room, I said. Stop, she said, but I ignored her. It's time to find out. As I stepped forward, her voice came again, but this time firm. It was deep like a man's voice. Stop! I froze. My leg shook. That wasn't Katura's voice. That was a man's voice. I didn't know whether to turn around to see what I just heard. Then I saw a stick resting by the dining table. For a moment I paused. Should I pick it? Or would that make things worse than it is now? Still confused on what to do, the sound from the bedroom grew louder. It wasn't just any sound. It was a soft cry calling my name. And it was my wife's voice. I couldn't go into the bedroom. That mysterious deep voice behind me had warned me not to. I could feel something there, right behind me. But I couldn't even turn to see who or what it was. Fear held me tight. Then something inside of me screamed, Run! Run now! Run? I whispered to myself. Before I could think further, the light in the living room suddenly went off. With every bit of strength left in me, I ran. I threw the door open and took off, barefoot into the street. I was running like an antelope. I left everything behind: my home, my wife. I didn't care anymore. I just wanted to stay alive. I ran until my legs couldn't move again. I found a tree and sat under it, panting and confused. What is going on in my life? I asked myself. She always denied crying in her sleep. But tonight, when I tried to uncover the truth, strange things started happening. And to think that we'd been married for just 3 weeks. I was still wondering when sleep took over, right there under the tree. When I woke up, it was already past 9 a.m. I looked around. I was far from town. I stood up, dusted my clothes and started tracing my way home. It was bright now. I made up my mind. My wife and I must talk. I thought I knew her, but now I'm not so sure. When I reached the house, the front door was wide open. Surprise! I stepped in. Just then, my mother-in-law came out, holding a small bag with Katura's clothes and a food flask. Good morning, ma, I greeted, confused. She didn't answer. She stopped and stared at me with eyes I couldn't explain. What is going on? I asked. Where are you taking my wife's clothes? Where is she? The way she raised her voice, it was like I had pressed a loud radio. I thought you were a responsible man. You came to my house acting gentle and caring, but now I see the opposite. Mommy, please calm down. What happened? I asked, confused. What happened? She repeated. Where were you when your wife needed you the most? You ran away. Now she's in the hospital. I hope you are satisfied. Hospital? I stood there speechless. She hissed and walked past me, and then turned around and said, She's at Motena Hospital. I expect to see you there. And she left. So many questions filled my mind. My wife never said anything about being sick. What exactly happened to her last night? And how did my mother-in-law know? I looked around. Everything seemed normal until I entered the bedroom. The bedsheet looked rough and a bit stained. I ignored that. My only focus was getting to the hospital. I quickly changed clothes and rushed out. When I got there, I asked the nurse at the counter, "Excuse me, please. My wife was admitted here. Her name is Katura. What room is she in?" She looked at me, shook her head slowly, and sighed. Hmm, men, men. Anything that we're scared, they just follow. I frowned. "What do you mean?" She waved it off. "No, from my mouth you go hear am o. Please, I beg. Her room is 102. Follow that hallway." I turned in the direction she pointed. Then I saw my mother-in-law standing down the hallway making a call. I nodded my head and said, "Oh, see my mother-in-law, thanks, nurse." But the nurse said something that froze me in place. "Mother-in-law care? Mother of who?" I looked at her. "What do you mean? Do you know her?" The nurse had refused to answer my questions. My wife was now hospitalized. Could it be connected to her midnight crisis? My head was pounding. I needed clarity. I looked at the nurse again, desperate. "Please, if you know anything about my wife or that woman who was standing over there, please help me, I beg you. I didn't sleep well last night." She looked at me like she was deciding whether to speak. Then she sighed and said, "All I can say is this. Be careful. That woman that stood over there, she's not her mother. And your wife, I doubt if she's even human." My eyes widened. "What? My wife? What do you mean she's not human?" "I can't explain," she replied in a low tone. "Just watch your back, sir. That is all I can say." I asked again, "Medically, what's even wrong with her?" The nurse signed. "We've run every test. Nothing is wrong with her." I signed heavily and slowly walked away to check on my wife. Too many questions, too few answers. The more I search, the deeper the mystery. "This is getting scarier by the day," I whispered to myself. When I reached her room, I paused. I took a deep breath and walked in. Immediately, the woman I thought was her mother saw me. She began shouting at me again. But my wife, Katura, raised her hand weakly and said, "Mama, please, it's all right. It's not his fault. He did nothing wrong." I took his place. The woman froze. She didn't understand what Katura meant. I became even more confused. Took my place? My heart raced. The best thing for me now was to escape. In fact, everything I had seen and heard was enough. I planned that moment. I stepped out of the room. I would rush back, pack my things and disappear. No more marriage, no more love. My life first. But just as I was about to excuse myself, Katura looked at me and said, "I know what you are thinking, but please wait. I need to tell you something." I froze. She turned to the woman and said, "Mama, please excuse us. I want to talk to him alone." The woman stood and said nothing and quietly walked out. Now it was just the two of us. Katura adjusted herself, sat up slowly, and then the air in the room changed. It became heavy, strange, almost like something unseen had entered. "Come closer," she said. "I need to tell you why I cry every night and who I am." I was shaking. I looked around, then dragged my feet slowly towards her. The air in the room felt different. As I got closer, she said, "I know you've been confused about everything happening in our marriage. I never planned to fall in love with anyone because I was on a mission. But somehow, I liked you, and that is why I've tried so hard not to hurt you." I froze. "I've had many men before you. Use them to renew my life," she confessed. "When the Queen of the Coast visits, she demands a soul. She wanted me to offer you, but I kept begging for more time. That is why I cry every midnight since we got married." My chest tightened. I felt my legs weakening. "I'm already married, but not in this world. My spiritual husband visits me on some nights. If I had let you touch me, he would have shattered you, just like he did to others." I gasped. My mouth hung open in disbelief. "So, how did you come into existence?" I managed to ask. She took a deep breath. There's a secret river, a forbidden place. Women desperate for children go there. After making sacrifices, the river goddess gives them a child. But there's always a price. I listened carefully. The woman you call my mother had 4 sons, but she was desperate for a daughter. She went to the river, and I was sent to her as a baby. But every 8 years, a sacrifice had to be made, and without knowing it, one of her sons always paid the price. I shook my head in pity. Then she said, "Call her in. I need to open up to her." I stepped out and called the woman in. Katura turned to her calmly. "Mama, my time is up. Stop saying that," the woman cried. Katura looked her in the eyes. "I don't belong here. I am from the coast, and now I must go back. I've done enough harm to the living. Even your sons were not spared." The woman collapsed into the chair, her eyes wide with regret. "Chimo, Chai," she wailed, her voice shaking the room. Tears streamed down her face. She trembled. Then Katura said, "Desperation is dangerous. When you are too desperate, you lose the ability to tell right from wrong. You start telling bad things good, just because you want something at all costs." Her words pierced deep into my soul. I stood there, silent, broken. My eyes were open. I started wondering, how did I even fall in love with her? Just 2 weeks after meeting her, I was already pushing for marriage. She looked at me and said, "You escaped what many didn't. Not everything that looks like a blessing is truly one. Some gifts shine on the outside, but hide a dark side within. In this world, be careful. Learn to be patient. Make proper findings. Don't be carried away by what you see. Remember, not every glitter leads to gold." She turned her head and whispered, "Good night." Then, before anyone could move, a strange dark bird flew out through the window and vanished into the sky. That was it. I ran. I ran out, got to the house, packed my things, and left that town for good, ready to start a new life. I never looked back. Some doors are better left closed forever. I learned my lesson the hard way.